Our final speaker of the afternoon, again, is a member of a party that sits with us in the EFDD in the Parliament, and it's a party that has made the news in the last week. It has stunningly broken into the German Parliament in the recent election. Becoming the third largest party in that election, and in the eastern states of Germany, in the old eastern German states, the second largest party. I just want to say one interesting, I'm probably going to steal something you were going to say anyway, but what I find really fascinating about this is when you look at the age profile of the voters, there was almost exactly the same percentage of young people, so the under 30s and the over 60s. And almost exactly the same percentage of people either side of the middle bracket. So the age profile exactly balanced. So it's right across the spectrum. Really interesting. Dr. Hugh Bronson was actually educated and took his doctorate at the University of East Anglia in Norwich. He then worked for 6 years for the Economist Intelligence Unit in London. He then was managing director of a company called Infomedia in Mumbai in India. He was managing director then of another company in London and Norwich. And he has been, since 2014, a lecturer at the Hartnackschule Language Academy in Berlin. And he has been, since September 2016, a member of the Berlin House of Representatives. He has been, since 2013, a member of Alternative for Germany. And will you please give him, Dr. Hugh Bronson, an enormous welcome. Very kind announcement.
Ah. I've made a few notes, so please forgive me for 2 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you, Steve, for your very warm welcome. It's a great honor for me to be here, to be invited to speak to you at your annual conference. It really is. First of all, and also in the name of my party, I want to wholeheartedly congratulate Henry Bolton for being elected your new leader. We are really pleased. Thank you very much. Today I'm standing in for Beatrix von Storch, who is a member of UKIP's parliamentary group in Brussels, but she's been voted member of the Bundestag, and now they're very busy it's forming up the parliamentary group, and she asked me if I would be prepared to step in, and I said I would be more than delighted. She sends her warmest regards and wishes for the United Kingdom Independence Party to continue their successful work in Europe and at home. Also, while I'm on the term of congratulations, I also want to say to UKIP, well done, fantastic, for a very successful Brexit. Nobody expected that. And it only shows what you can achieve if you really, really work hard to reach your goal. Honestly, it set a fantastic example. Our two parties have achieved 2 major victories. You've secured the United Kingdom's independence, and as of last Sunday, as Steve already mentioned, the AFD have entered the Bundestag, winning 94 out of 700 seats. Our party secured 12.6% in Sunday's election, which means that 5 million people gave us their vote. Sadly, the British electoral system prevents UKIP from being represented in the same way in the House of Commons. Yeah. The Brexit referendum shows what a concentrated campaign can achieve against the inertia of the ruling establishment. The AFD is just 4.5 years old. Compared to your party, you've been struggling for more than 20 years to get some foot into the door. But ever since our party was founded, we've been, like you, fighting the established parties, the trade unions, the media, the church, NGOs, you name it. There was a united front of all these institutions to stop us from getting anywhere. They stood up all against the voice of reason, which is the AFD, not because they were unreasonable people. No, they're not. Because of fear. Absolute fear. They were afraid of losing power, losing money, losing influence and social status. Our party was vilified and discredited by the papers, by TV channels, talk shows, by politicians, and by an elite which has endorsed the further enlargement of the EU, unchecked, unbalanced, for the last 60 years, ever since the treaties of Rome were signed in 1957. I brought you this week's Der Spiegel. Some of you might know this magazine. It's a bit like The Economist. It's quite respected, leaning towards the left, and the title page says it all. It says, "They're here." Actually, it's quite complimentary. You can see Alice Weidel and Alexander Gauland, who were the leaders of our election campaign and who are now also the two spokespeople for our parliamentary group, and a humbled Angela Merkel. I'm telling you, it took us a long time to get there, but I'm very pleased that we managed to do that. Now Britain, your country, is leaving the EU in March 2019, which makes me both happy and sad at the same time. Happy, of course, because you have shown the world what determined patriots can achieve. I'm sad because Germany will lose a very powerful ally against the bureaucratic steamroller, which has had a strong impact on even the tiniest of detail in public and private lives. Toilet paper. There are, I kid you not, there are regulations on, EU regulations on toilet paper. I will not go into detail. I leave that for a stand-up maybe later on. Okay, my party, the AFD, and now Germany is negotiating with Britain the Brexit. We stand for an orderly and consensual disengagement of the EU and the UK, not for narrow-minded revenge, because some parties in some states, I sometimes think, they want to punish Britain for what they've done. They want to set an example. Look, if you follow this, this is what's going to happen to you. And of course, this is not what we want. In Germany, it's become our task of calming panic about Brexit. In the Committee for European Affairs in Berlin, I explained that our city is not likely to see an influx of hundreds of thousands of Polish citizens fleeing from a deportation-happy Britain. As the white paper of Theresa May foresees a continuity of immigration status for non-British citizens. Let me assure you that although they don't advertise it loudly, German industry associations are quite optimistic about the effects on Brexit, the effects of Brexit on trade. This stands to reason, as intra-European trade stagnated under the EU, while a diversity of national regulation environments leads to a stronger development of national competitive advantages. Take one example. On 19 September, it was noted that the German company, a huge company, Müller Milk, invested $100 million in the UK, clearly demonstrating that German-British trade is still going strong and will continue to do so in the time to come. As John Bickley, your immigration spokesman, has indicated earlier today, the UK needs qualified immigration on the UK's terms and against uncontrolled, unskilled immigration. Let me tell you a little bit about what happened in Germany 2 years ago. In August, or let's say last year, in August of 2016, 68% of all asylum applications in the EU were filed in Germany. After the main waves of illegal migration had already arrived, the European Commission pushed on further with a so-called relocation program. But don't be fooled. This relocation program is nothing but a relocation program. Germany and Sweden, which had already absorbed the lion's share of the so-called refugees, counted among the few countries to implement the program voluntarily. Britain cleverly dodged the bullet by leaving the EU before being blackmailed into accepting generally unskilled migrants via the relocation and resettlement programs. And I congratulate you to that. In light of the recent developments in my own party, as you probably have heard in the news that 2 senior members have left, I'd like to emphasize the value of unity among European patriots. We have our differences, of course, internally, but everybody has. We must try and discuss them in a civilized manner and talk to our colleagues before defecting and setting up a competitive political party, because this is what apparently these 2 people want to do. But we have every reason to believe that our parliamentary group in the Bundestag will begin its work with the professional discipline our voters rightly expect from it. And I wish for UKIP the same. As your new logo says, for the nation. Please make it a reality, for the nation. Thank you. Allow me to emphasize 2 more things. First thing is, don't be tricked into believing your work is done now that Brexit is a fact. No. Far from it. I probably don't have to tell you, but for you, my dear friends, the work has just begun. Show the country that the unity you need to have for the Brexit negotiations to be completed, and that the agreements made between Brussels and London are followed to the letter. No watering down. Then your days of being governed by an undemocratic and self-protecting elite of bureaucrats, of an almighty European Court of Justice, economic trade barriers which have stifled Britain's economy and its potential for so long, will finally be over. On a private note, I would like to add something else. Last night, I arrived at the hotel quite late and bumped into a few fellow colleagues, UKIP colleagues. I didn't know, but we had a few drinks, as you have, and had a chat in the lobby. One colleague was quite open and frank and told me that he will never support AFD's agenda. He said his wife was Jewish, and he didn't like what some of our senior people had said during the campaign. Let me tell you, be careful not to waste your energy looking for enemies where in fact you have friends. I tell you something else, the AFD has liberal Muslims and Jews as party members. Why is that? Well, the liberal Muslims tell me we escaped from countries of tyranny, and now we are meeting the people we ran away from on your streets. what is going on here? Equally, the Jewish members we have, they say, we realize that you are the only party who actually speaks about imported anti-Semitism. Imported anti-Semitism. Because many of these young men from North Africa have this anti-Semitic strain ingrained. And they feel it, the Jews feel it. They have, not just in schools and public places, but they feel threatened. Can you imagine what is going to happen to your Jewish community or our Jewish community if Sharia law is taking over? Have you seen reports from France, which has had an incredible influx of North Africans? Reports showing how thousands of Jews are actually leaving France in fear of their lives and immigrate to Israel. Well, on the one hand, Jerusalem is quite happy to have educated, well-behaved, civilized people in their country. On the other hand, the Israelis are wondering what on earth is going on in a democratic European state that initiated the French Revolution to abolish the tyranny of so few over so many. Earlier on, I had a brief chat with Steve Crowther, and he confided to me that he got flack from party members because he has invited someone from the extreme right-wing AFD to speak at your conference. I told him that I also had to justify my trip to Torquay back home. Now, this is exactly what we must avoid at all costs. Second-hand information peddled by the press week in, week out. The media is dividing the patriotic forces in Europe, and this is what they want to do. If it succeeds, I see a Jeremy Corbyn looming at the horizon. That is why we must work together to rescue Britain, to secure pride in our nations. Let us not fall into this trap. Please do your utmost to preserve the freedom of speech in this country. As free people, we should fight for democracy, for separation of powers, for the rule of law, for subsidiarity, family values, and, in your case, for the British cultural heritage. Democracy and freedom are vested in your common values and in your cultural tradition. The AFD and other patriotic forces want you to protect your national unity and freedom. We want to create a Europe of sovereign and democratic states, united in peace, self-determination, living as good neighbors. This is what we fight for. This is what we fight for, and this is what we live for. Together as friends, never be divided. Thank you very much.
Come again. Are you with us tonight?
I am.
Excellent.